Hey everyone, I'm PekinWolf. I've been a Challenger player for many years, and you may know me as the former mid laner for FlyQuest Academy. In this video, we're going to be looking over resetting in League of Legends. Resetting is any time you recall in game, but in this video, we're going to be focusing on laning resets. While this video will be mainly focused on the mid lane, other lanes are just as similar with their own resets. Quickly, we will go over what resetting is. Resetting is recalling back to base to buy items, heal HP, regenerate mana, and allow you to be healthy and strong versus your opponent. When you reset correctly, it allows you to have a much easier laning phase through creating CS and EXP leads through your waves, having a buy up on your opponent, and creating more pressure for your team. Resetting is probably one of the most simple concepts inside of League of Legends, and tons of people do it, so how could you possibly be doing it wrong or even improve on it? Well, believe it or not, resetting has many different aspects that will allow you to get a lead versus your opponent if done correctly. Before I go over how to reset correctly, I will briefly touch on a concept resetting is prone to: planning ahead. The best players in League of Legends plan every move they make, from how they move in lane, throw skill shots, even how aggressive they play. Resetting allows you to practice planning ahead because it is one of the biggest fundamentals of resetting efficiently. So resetting correctly often is an easy way to get into that mindset of planning ahead in your games, which in return will help you learn other concepts later on easier. Let's jump right into it by going over the first reset, which is just a normal lane reset. This first reset is normally when both laners are relatively even, and normally this reset is done during the early game, normally actually the first reset, and it's normally done because people either need mana or they are looking to purchase an item. Remember that I said earlier that resetting is a main concept about planning ahead, so you should always have a reason for your reset. So to do a normal reset to its fullest potential, you want to reset as fast as possible on a new minion wave. The faster you're able to clear the wave, and the faster you're able to recall, the faster you're going to be able to get back into the next lane when a new minion wave is coming, so you're not going to miss as many creeps. To understand why you're supposed to push in a fresh new wave rather than just a wave in general, it's because you're trying to push in the opponent under tower before they're able to match the amount of push that you're applying to them. So inside of this Aurelion Sol clip, I was able to push Neeko under tower, and now she's stuck CSing all of those creeps, and if I pushed slower, then she would have been able to at least trim the wave down, so when it finally crashed, that means that she would have less creeps to actually push out before she gets to recall herself. And not only that, but there will be a new wave coming earlier if I take longer to push out the wave too. Believe it or not, people actually screw this up just by looking for maybe poking on the opponent or looking to maybe hit a tower a couple times when it's not really necessary, or just kind of lingering around and not immediately resetting after pushing in the wave. And just a few seconds means the difference between you missing 2 to 3 CS and actually not missing that 2 to 3 CS. And I have a few examples to show how a few seconds really does matter in resetting. So the example will be 2 echo clips. One person is going to push out immediately and then reset, and then the other person is going to push out but then linger around for a few seconds and then reset and immediately run back. We're going to see that those few seconds actually matter a lot because he actually misses some creeps, meaning that he's behind experience and gold than the echo that immediately shoved out. So if you're actually lingering around inside of your games, you might actually be putting yourself at a disadvantage without even realizing it. A quick bonus tip to make your reset game even stronger is to reset on a cannon wave spawn, which means resetting on the wave right before a cannon wave. The reason why this is so effective is if you were able to push in fast and keep your opponent busy CSing under tower, in some cases they must shove in the next wave to get off a better reset for themselves. Not only will this take longer to push out that wave, but it's also going to push a cannon under tower, which takes longer to kill because it has tower damage reduction. Even if your opponent pushes as fast as possible, in most cases you should be able to get back into lane before the cannon even dies to tower. Not only this, but tower focuses cannon, which means that the melees are normally able to survive, at least 1 or 2 of them, so that means you actually lose less experience and gold than a normal wave. So what do we learn from this first scenario? The first thing is that when you're actually going to reset, to actually commit to the reset. Don't focus on anything besides shoving as fast as you possibly can to get back in the lane quickly and miss less experience in CS than if you were able to not push quickly. And as a quick bonus, be sure to try to make it so you're resetting on a cannon spawn. The second scenario that we're going to be going over is when you're winning lane and your opponent is trying to reset himself to try to get out of a bad scenario. This bad scenario that the enemy might be in is normally caused from him being low HP or low mana. In most cases, people would try to shove quickly so the opponent loses creeps under tower, but that often could be the wrong move, especially inside side lanes, where fully resetting a wave under tower can take a long time just due to the lane being longer. Other good reasons for not really wanting to shove the opponent under tower is you yourself being low on mana or just not having very strong wave clear. Or not being able to actually harass the opponent under tower because they're too healthy, or you're not really a champion that can harass under tower very well. So what should you do rather than just quickly shoving in the opponent under his tower when he's trying to reset? And what you should do is you should do a frozen reset. Of course, this reset does require some conditions to actually be met though. To quickly know what a freeze is before moving on, it's when there's a bigger number of creeps on one side, thus making it pushing towards the side with less creeps. The first condition for this reset to truly work is your opponent needs to have a reason to reset himself, normally because he is unable to step up inside the wave because he has no mana or low HP and it's dangerous for him to do so. The second condition is obviously having a frozen wave in front of you, meaning that it's pushing towards you so that when he resets, when you reset, that wave is actually going to shove towards you, meaning that he loses more creeps than you. Lastly, a bonus thing that you can do is you wait for your opponent to actually fully reset, meaning that you actually see them reset. That means having a lane ward down is very effective, being able to see them reset, because if they actually fake their recall and then wait for you to recall to match them because you have a lane frozen, they can come up and then unfreeze it by pushing it into your tower because you reset thinking that they actually reset when they didn't, and then you effectively lose some creeps. So being able to see him fully reset will allow you to actually not miss out on this opportunity where the opponent can try to mind game you. So after all of that information, let's go back to the beginning and see how this freeze reset works out. The first thing inside the scenario is that Ryze is low HP and low mana, meaning that it's going to be hard for him to shove out all the way. Because the wave is also slow pushing towards me because my wave was just crashed and you can see that there's more creeps on his side than my side, that means it is going to come towards me if I decide to not push it. I put down a ward to be able to see the Ryze if he decides to reset, and then when I do see him finally reset, I reset myself and just wait for the creeps to pile against me, meaning that I will have a frozen wave that I can come back to and I can just continue CSing from there. If we put a counter down, we can even see how many more CS he missed versus me, and we can clearly see that freezing a wave is very beneficial, especially in scenarios where you aren't able to actually shove in very quickly versus your opponent. Before we go into the next scenario, people may be wondering what the opponent should have done to fix this. So let's imagine we're actually Ryze inside of the scenario. So the first thing that you can do is, if you're healthy enough, be sure that when you push in your opponent that you're able to harass them or push in the wave fully. Don't back off, because if you back off just a moment, they might have an opportunity to freeze when you're backing to maybe go into river or something. Unfortunately, if you're actually too low though to actually pressure him and make it so the wave fully crashes, the next best thing that you can do is just call for assistance from the jungler. Unfortunately, the jungler can't always help, and sometimes they are busy doing some other things, so you can put down a ping, and if they don't come, normally you just have to take the loss and just recall, because stepping up and dying and losing the wave is a lot worse than just resetting and just losing the wave. The next scenario that we're going to be looking at is how to reset using a big wave and the advantages behind it. This scenario is extremely beneficial for top lane and bottom lane, as they are longer lanes with a bigger opportunity to stack a wave. This scenario can only begin if you're stronger than your opponent champion wise or just item wise. If they're able to pressure your opponent and they're not even able to step up to really pressure the wave at all, then you're in the perfect opportunity where you can make a huge wave and then crash it into your opponent. Remember that just making a big wave doesn't mean that you necessarily need to reset, because there are some situations where it's better to dive the opponent, but this video is mainly going over resetting, so we're going to be looking mainly at why you're going to reset and what advantages you're going to get from resetting on a big wave. So inside this scenario, we're going to be looking at a Riven versus Jax matchup. Jax is able to pressure Riven level 1 through 3 very easily using his counter strike, and Riven doesn't really have much counterplay around it. What Jax is going to do inside this matchup, because he's able to make it so Riven can't really step up, is very slowly push a wave towards her. To do this, all you need to do is just last hit the creeps very slowly and make sure that the opponent isn't really able to hit the wave. This will make it so whenever a new wave comes in, it's going to stack on your side because you're just dealing a little bit more damage, and it slowly turns into a snowball effect, making a big creep wave. The wave will eventually snowball to a point that it becomes so big that you want to shove in the next wave extremely quickly to make it so all the waves crash at once and they're stuck under their tower CSing while you're able to take a reset and buy. If you need a general rule of thumb of why you're supposed to reset during this time, you could just think of it as, well, I can't really harass my opponent under tower because I'm melee here, so I might as well reset because I can run back to the lane, because it's actually going to slow push the other direction because I was able to crash this huge wave under tower. Now you might be asking yourself, wait a second, I thought when a wave crashes it's going to fully reset, but that's not the case for a big wave like this one. When a big wave crashes under tower, the next minion wave on the opponent's side will actually hit your minion wave that you crashed under tower and actually stay on their side for a little bit, meaning that your wave then is going to walk all the way to their side and actually end up on their side of the map, which means that every single next minion wave that comes on their side will end up to the minion wave faster from them than it is on your side, meaning that their creeps are going to hit your creeps sooner than your creeps will be able to arrive and actually hit it, so it's actually going to slow push back towards you. So what that means is that you can actually just run back to lane, because since it's slow pushing towards you, you're not really going to miss that many creeps, and you can just hold on to that TP and use it for something else. Not only that, but it's pretty hard for your opponent in top lane to be able to shove out all the way because it's a longer lane, so you're actually going to probably arrive there when they're still trying to shove out, and there's an opportunity where you and your jungler can try to gank him, which actually happened inside of an LCS game. Lots of these techniques that I am teaching you right now are actually used inside of professional play all the time. Let's take a look at an LCS example of FlyQuest versus CLG. Inside this match, a lot of the points that I brought up happen inside the top lane, so let's use our new knowledge and go over the how and the why of a professional reset. The first thing is that because Jax is stronger level 1, he does make it so there's a big wave pushing towards the Riven by slow pushing the wave and only last hitting when necessary, and you can quickly see that it quickly becomes a big minion wave. So once that wave is close to the tower, he does one of the things that I had mentioned, which was you want to fast push a wave when you're wanting to reset. He wants to reset on this wave, so he's going to quickly use all of his abilities on this wave as fast as possible to shove this giant wave under Riven's tower, making her stuck CSing while he gets to make a recall and just run back. Not only this, but because it's such a big wave, it actually makes it so the next wave that comes is more on Riven's side, making it so it slow pushes towards the Jax, which actually gives an opportunity for the Sejuani to gank on CLG's side. Professionals understand wave manipulation and resets, so most likely Darshan was saying to Wiggly, hey, this is going to slow push back towards me, and Viper needs to shove out the wave, as I mentioned before, because you don't want to back on a wave slow pushing towards someone because you're going to miss a lot of creeps. So because they know that he needs to shove it out, they're going to look for a gank and abuse that. And because Riven has to overextend so far to try to shove this wave fully, she actually dies for it, and they're able to freeze on him with having a bigger wave, effectively using the freeze from my second point, which is when an opponent is pushing towards you, you can reset, of course, but inside this scenario, they used it as a gank opportunity, and then now, even when he comes back into lane, Darshan can keep it pushing towards himself, making it so it's going to be very hard for Riven to step up because she'll be afraid for the rest of the game. So what did we learn from this scenario? Resetting can allow huge leads through being able to save your summoners and even have a wave that is in a perfect position for you as soon as you arrive back in lane, giving an opportunity to even get some kills. Be sure to practice all these concepts that we've discussed throughout this video. Practice really does make perfect. Remember to also track your progress and even get more advice related to wave management by using the powerful tools at mobalytics.gg. See you next time, summoners, and thanks for watching.